It's 10 o'clock, so I'm going to get started, and this is probably going to be fairly quick. So I appreciate everybody joining this morning, and I'm sure we'll have some stragglers joining in. But Tim Vohar said, "What about 7 things to make your loan transaction run smoothly?" And so I said, "All right." So I sent an email to my loan officers. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah Steadfast, and I run the joint venture mortgage company called Newtown Mortgage between Town Bank Mortgage and Berkshire Hathaway Home Services Town Realty. And so I have 13 loan officers, and I emailed them, and I resoundingly got very similar responses, but somehow I was able to come up with 10. So, with no further ado, we're going to get started. So, number 10, don't want egg on your face. So, the board, and I have this kind of set aim towards the buyer, just purely because it's the buyer that is the one that is the one getting the loan. So we have to kind of tell the borrowers to stop using PayPal, Amazon, QuadPay, EasyPay at least 3 months to buying your home because we can't track those transactions. And everything we have to do these days has to be very, very specific. And sure, you can go to Venmo and you can go to PayPal and you can see a history right on your cell phone, but that is not something that we can actually verify on that transaction. So if you have somebody that has a side business or they sold a car or something like that, and we need that money, we need to be able to verify that money, and they use one of these money transfer organizations, then we just can't track it. So we highly recommend that people stop using any of those online transfer accounts because we cannot track them. All right, number 9. Be prepared to explain your finances to your loan officer. Don't try and hide anything. We and our underwriters are detectives, and we will find out eventually. Best to identify and address it early in the process. And this is probably going to sound absolutely crazy to you, but I our underwriters, you all know Facebook. Our underwriters have been known to go to Facebook when a borrower tries to explain something, and we go to Facebook and we look down Facebook and say, wait a minute, wait a minute. There is their life out there on Facebook, and it does not match what they told us. So we're going to find it out if they don't tell us. And finding it out, it typically happens towards our detectives don't work particularly quickly. And when the detective hits the jackpot at the last minute, right before closing, then there's a problem. So go ahead and explain everything to the loan officer because the loan officer can help us navigate through it. And that's a really, really important one. But the whole thing of finding things out, we had a situation where a veteran was moving here, and he said he was moving here and he was bringing his family from Ohio, and there were just some real questionable transactions on his bank statements and things. And the underwriter went on to Facebook and saw that he was actually leaving his family in Ohio and had given his girlfriend a beautiful ring. And so he really wasn't bringing his family from Ohio. And it's just these things. I mean, we put stuff on Facebook, we don't realize that it could also be used against us. So be prepared to explain your finances and everything to your loan officer. Number 8, provide everything the loan officer asked for upfront and in a timely manner. And in our book, we look at that being about 24 hours, or your loan officer will be, you need to get this to me, you need to get this to me, get this to me. And we'll probably get into documentation a little bit more in just a minute. But it's it's crazy. But on bank statements now, it's not just a printout from your account. If you're going to get a printout, you've got to go to the bank. It's got to be stamped and signed by somebody at the bank. But if you use a bank statement, it actually has to have the URL bars across the bottom. And that can prevent us from being able to actually sell the loan on the secondary market if we have a document that doesn't have that URL number or bar thing on the bottom. And you're going, well, that's just crazy. The other thing is that when people different banks have different ways of providing it. So you could go to your online bank account and you say, let me view my statements. And yet when you print it, it either doesn't have the name of the institution, it doesn't have the borrower's name or any identifying information, and it may not have that URL thing on the bottom. So we're really and I think our poor buyers sometimes are like, oh my God, I gave that to them. But this is why, because we have to be so specific. It's got to have the bank's name. It's got to have the borrower's name. It doesn't have to have the complete loan bank account number, but it's got to have a few of the digits on there, and it's got to have this URL on the bottom. So loan officers are going to hound your buyers for this information. So you might as well tell them that I think I usually say, hey, we're getting ready to ask you your shoe size, just purely because it feels like it's somewhat intrusive. But we're lending them a lot of money. So all right, number 7, but you can't guess what this one is. Shop for your homeowner's insurance quote, but finalize the one you want and make sure you have enough coverage. I can't tell you how many times we're trying to get the closing disclosure out, and we send our closing disclosures out 5 days before closing, but we can't send the closing disclosure out because we don't have finalized hazard insurance or homeowners insurance. So people shop around for quotes. Yeah, I'm going to talk to, I'm going to talk to USAA, and I'm going to talk to my friend who's in the insurance business, and Town Bank Town Bank Insurance also. Town Insurance likes to be able to quote too. So they go out there, they get 3 quotes, but they don't actually pick somebody. So it's really important that we get that finalized up front. In the old days, you could get insurance at the last minute. Now you can't. They've got to run your credit report. They've got to do a clue report on the property, which is basically like a credit report to see whether the property has had a bunch of claims against it for various reasons, but it's really, really important. And I should probably have put on here too the flood insurance. That's a whole topic in itself. That flood insurance is when a property is in a special flood hazard area that requires them to have flood insurance. Again, it's really important that you get that up front as well. So I like my little pictures here. All right, number 6. Floating addendums. Be sure to provide any addendums and amendments to the contract to the lender and the closing agent. I think that we really have more problems with this on new construction, that all of a sudden they decided they wanted to upgrade something and they wanted to upgrade this and they wanted to upgrade that. But also on resale, you've got maybe adjustments because of a PICRA. So it's really, really important that the lender gets all the addendums. And you get to contract. Nobody seems to look at the closing disclosure, but everybody gets to closing and says, "Well, wait, where's the credit that the seller was supposed to give me? They were supposed to give me an extra $5,000 instead of fixing whatever it was on the home inspection." So things like that. It's really, really important that we have all the floating addendums. All right, number 5. Select a closing agent, a closing attorney, or settlement agent and contact them. Respond to their questions and communicate a mutually acceptable closing date and time. Our mantra at Newtown Mortgage is that we're not going to miss a closing date. So whatever closing date it is that you have in the contract, we're going to do everything we possibly can, barring any unforeseen title issues or PICRA issues. We're going to do everything we can to try and get that loan closed on time. But what typically happens, and I know Virginia Home Title and other settlement agents will actually send out kind of a welcome letter. Hey, thanks for using me. Please let me know who's going to be on title. Let us know who your homeowner's insurance is going to be. We've become such a society of click, 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 click. So they send you a letter saying, hey, we're going to represent you. Thank you for choosing us. But it's really, really important that there is some communication. You should not rely on them to contact you, but everybody's kind of working towards that time. So you can kind of assume everything's going along, but we all know what happens when you assume. So very important that you communicate with them and get a mutually acceptable closing date and time. All right, number 4, provide 2 consecutive months, 2 years 24 consecutive months work history with accurate employer contacts for current and prior employers. So we have to verify 24 months. And so this is January the 20th. If you started work somewhere on February the 1st of 2020, God, I can't believe that. That's not 2 full years because today is the 20th of January. So we'd have a gap. But it's really, really important that we are getting the 2 years worth of employment. When somebody has multiple employments during the previous 24 months, that's where it gets really tricky. So we've got to make sure that our buyers have accurate contact information for their employers. We can use the work number for everyone for a lot of those companies that use the work number for everyone, but it's still really important that we can get a contact actually with their employer. And that's something else I wanted to mention. I should have talked about it when we were talking about the bank statements. We actually have this great company vendor that we use called Finicity, and Finicity will actually help us with the bank accounts. So, assuming it's a large, a known bank, I mean, Town Bank does it, Bank of America, USA. I mean, a lot of the big banks let us use Finicity, and Finicity, you basically will get an email saying, "Hey, somebody out there wants to verify your financial information," and you go in and you put in your your user ID and your password. You create you use the password from your bank account. You actually go in, pick Town Bank, and then you put in your login information for your bank account, and then we are able to actually just get the documents straight to us, so you don't even have to worry about the URL, that kind of thing. So there's so many shortcuts that are happening now which are really helpful, but it's still important that our borrowers give us the good contact information for their employers. Number 3, communicate with your loan officer's team. The loan officer has all the fun meeting with you guys, the agents, and also meeting with the buyers. But the processor is the one who does all the hard work, plowing through your file and verifying everything. So if somebody you don't know contacts you, typically your loan officer is going to tell you who their processor is and that they may contact you. But always go back to the loan officer and say, "Hey, who is this person who's asking me for such and such," and they'll be happy to tell you who is on the team. But it's really, really important that you communicate with whoever is working on the loan. And also, if a processor or even a loan officer calls you and says, "Hey, you need to get me such and such," and you're like, what in the world would they need that for? We get kind of, it's like you guys get into EMD, and we talk with military people who have LESs and all these kind of things. But if a loan officer or a processor spouts off some acronym and you have no idea what it is or why they need it, that's something else that you need to help your buyers say, "Hey, I need to know why they need this. I don't understand." Because a lot of times they'll say, "Well, I already sent that." And it's like, "Well, it didn't have the URL on the bottom, which is a requirement, or it had some large deposits, and we need to verify that, or we got your employment history back, and it said you didn't start till February the 1st and days only January the 20th." I mean, whatever it is, a lot of time the buyer thinks, "Well, I already sent that," and it's because we didn't get the right thing. So really important that they ask for clarification, so they're not spinning their wheels and sending the same documents in. Number 2, assets. Provide specific source for down payment and closing costs. Which account is it coming from? Are you going to have to liquidate it from your retirement account? Is it a gift? And who's it a gift from? Is it an acceptable donor? All these kinds of things are absolutely vital. If it is a gift, obviously we have to follow the gift guidelines. We also have to make sure that the gift letter is signed by the giver, the donor. We usually have to verify that the donor had the money to give to them. There are some ways around that, in that the donor can send certified funds to the settlement agent. So that's kind of a way around that. But it's just important that we know. One of the things that we've seen here recently is, wow, these people have this really large deposit in this account. and you go back and you ask them, hey, you need to document this large deposit. Oh, I went and bought some NFTs, non fungible tokens, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. So people have made a lot of money. They can also lose a lot of money, but people have made a lot of money trading in cryptocurrencies. So it's important that we know where it came from. Now, if somebody says, well, you know what, I just bought some cryptocurrency, I'm planning on it going up. Well, hello, let's flip a coin and see whether it's going to go up or not, because it might not. But if they are using cryptocurrency, very important that we source the money that shows up in their account. But we do need to know where that money is going to come from. All right, and then number one, do what your loan officer tells you to do. They are, they know what they're doing. They're not asking you for something or asking your borrower for something for the fun of it. They're asking because we need it. If your borrower doesn't understand or your buyer doesn't understand why we need it, then they need to go back and they need to ask the loan officer why do you need that. But the loan officer has done this before. This is not their first rodeo. They know what they need in order to get the loan approved, and so it's really important that your buyers follow what the loan officer needs. All right, anybody have any stories to share? Any questions about this nitpicky process that we're going in to find their shoe size and their underwear size? Great. Great. Well, I am, as I said, I'm Sarah Steadfast, and I am the venture president for Newtown Mortgage, and I'm here if you have any questions. One of the things I do like to say is that if you have a problem on a loan at another lender, I am more than happy to help talk to you, and perhaps you can't get answers to the questions that you need. I am more than happy to help you get answers to questions. I know a lot of people around here. There's a lot of online lenders that it's really pretty hard to get a hold of somebody. We are right here, ready, willing, and able to help you. And trying to figure out how do I stop. It's just terrible when Ralston's gone. I can't figure out how to stop sharing. But oh, I know, stop sharing. There we go, right up there. And so don't hesitate to reach out to me. My cell phone number, if you guys would like it, is 757-620-4130. And I'm available to help anytime with any loans here, or as I said, with other lenders. Keep in mind that we do have our second opinion program, which means if you have a buyer who perhaps has been pre-qualified online and you kind of want some assurance that they're really going to be okay, call one of our loan officers and they will be happy to give them a pre-approval, and will for that I send them $100 Visa gift card. So my big joke is that I sat through a 3-hour timeshare presentation to get a free beach towel. I think that somebody might be interested in talking to one of our lenders to get a second opinion and $100 gift card. So if you have any questions you didn't want to ask them here, please feel free to give me a call, 757-620-4130, or contact your broker. I know they will be able to help you too. So thanks so much, everybody, and have a wonderful day. Stay warm and get your snow boots out. Have a great day. Thank you.